Welcome to Scenario, the deep dive podcast for analysis and reviews. Today, we're diving into something that affects us all love. But maybe not in the way you usually think about it. We're looking at it scientifically.
Yeah, have you ever thought that, the way we love and connect might actually have deep roots in our human past, in our evolution?
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're drawing heavily from the TEDx talk, Attachment Theory is the Science of Love by Ann Power. We're going to explore this theory together. It started in London about a century ago, actually, and it's incredibly influential today.
Our mission really is to kind of distill the key concepts for you,
Mm.
unpack some surprising insights, and look at what this theory actually means in practice, how it shapes our most important relationships.
Okay, so let's try and unpack this. Where do we start? London, the 1930s.
That's right, with John Bowlby. He was a psychoanalyst, but with a very scientific mind. Apparently, he didn't quite fit in at the Institute of Psychoanalysis back then.
Oh, really? Why was that?
Well, his approach was seen as, a bit too scientific for the time. But fast forward a few decades, and his ideas really took hold in universities worldwide.
And now you even see echoes of it in, like, news feeds and parenting advice, right?
Absolutely. It's influenced how we think about raising kids, our adult relationships, everything. His really revolutionary idea was simply that behavior makes sense in its context.
Behavior makes sense in context. What does that mean exactly?
It means that behavior isn't random. It has a purpose, especially within a specific environment. And this led him to focus specifically on the bond between a mother and child.
Okay. And there were some pretty striking experiments that influenced him. Something about monkeys.
Yes, exactly. Really powerful stuff from the 1930s. Imagine this. They separated baby monkeys from their mothers and put them in a cage with two artificial mothers.
Artificial mothers.
Yeah. One was made of wire mesh, but it had a bottle providing milk. The other was covered in soft cloth, really comforting, but offered no food.
Okay, so the obvious guess would be they'd go for the food, right? The wire mother.
That's what you might think. But incredibly, the baby monkeys almost constantly clung to the cloth mother. They sought out that comfort, that feeling of safety.
Wow. So they only went to the wire mother.
Only when they were really hungry. They'd quickly feed and then rush right back to the cloth one.
So Bowlby saw this and realized.
He realized that young creatures, us included, form an attachment to whoever provides care. Yes, but crucially, whoever provides safety and comfort. And he stressed that this need for an attachment figure, someone supportive, isn't just for babies.
It stays with us.
It stays with us throughout our entire lives. He saw it as a fundamental evolutionary mechanism.
For survival, you mean?
Precisely. This drive to attach is deeply ingrained because it helped our species survive. His team then observed how human babies, just like the monkeys, adapt their behavior. They tried to get the best possible care they can, given their specific circumstances.
Okay, let's make that more concrete. Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine one baby whose mother, maybe she's overwhelmed, only really responds when the baby is crying really loudly, like amplifying its distress.
Okay, so what does that baby learn?
It learns, okay, to get attention, to get my needs met, I have to turn up the volume. They learn to kind of, make more noise to be noticed.
Right, and then maybe another scenario.
Okay, picture another family. Maybe this mother is uncomfortable with strong emotions. Perhaps she minimizes them or ignores them when the baby gets upset.
So that baby would learn.
That baby learns the opposite strategy. Keep my feelings down, minimize them, maybe even hide them so I don't upset mom.
And these are the roots of different attachment styles we hear about.
Exactly. Attachment researchers would describe the first baby as leaning towards an anxious attachment style, amplifying emotions. The second, towards an avoidant style, minimizing emotions.
But it's really important to stress these aren't character flaws, are they? They're strategies.
Absolutely critical point. They are learned adaptive strategies. Their responses develop very early on to get the best care possible in that specific context.
So it doesn't mean someone's doomed to have bad relationships.
Not at all. But it does mean that sometimes to build really fulfilling adult relationships, we might need to sort of unlearn some of those early patterns.
Okay, so what does all this mean practically? The theory didn't just stay in the lab, right? It had real-world impact.
Oh, definitely. There was a crucial moment in the 1950s. It highlighted the theory's practical importance, and it involved a clash with hospital practices at the time.
Hospital practices?
Yeah, many people might not know this, but back in the 50s, in Britain, for instance, parents could often only visit their hospitalized children for maybe an hour a week. Sunday afternoons, that was it.
Just 1 hour a week? That sounds awful.
It does now, but the hospital staff back then were apparently quite convinced this was the right thing to do. They thought it maintained order, maybe prevented infections, that sort of thing.
But something changed their minds.
Something powerful. One of Bowlby's colleagues got permission to film a 2-year-old girl who had just been admitted to the hospital. Just picture it. This little girl, all alone, no parents around.
Oh, gosh.
The black and white footage they got was so incredibly moving, so distressing to watch, frankly, that it actually convinced the authorities to completely change the rules about visiting hours.
Wow, that really brings home another key idea from the theory, doesn't it? That feeling safe actually allows us to learn and explore.
Precisely. That's a cornerstone. Safety enables learning. When we feel secure and confident, we're free to explore the world, to learn new things. But the moment we feel threatened...
Learning takes a back seat.
Totally. All our energy focuses on survival, on safety. Think about a little kid playing happily in a park. Suddenly a big, scary dog appears. What happens?
They run straight to their parent or caregiver.
Right. Instantly. Fear triggers that primal part of the brain. And in attachment terms, that secure child seeks out their parent because being close to them literally changes their body chemistry. It calms the anxiety.
And only then can they go back to playing.
Exactly. Only once they feel safe again. And, these same mechanisms, this seeking of reassurance, they operate in us as adults, too.
It's amazing how just, like, a touch or even a text message or a look from someone we're attached to can make us feel instantly better when we're stressed.
It really can. If we trust our attachment figure, that comfort can come quite easily. And when we feel safe again, our higher brain functions can come back online. We can think clearly again.
Which leads us nicely into the next chapter, doesn't it? Applying attachment theory to adult romantic relationships.
Right. Bowlby himself recognized that this need for attachment lasts, as he put it, from the cradle to the grave. But it was later researchers who really delved into adult couple bonds.
And what did they find? Were the patterns similar to childhood?
Very similar. They found the same key markers of attachment in adult relationships that we see in children. Things like seeking closeness when you're distressed or needing support.
And protesting separation.
Yes. Protesting separation, whether it's a small argument or, a major loss. And just like for kids, a secure bond in adulthood serves two vital functions.
Which are?
It acts as a safe haven, a place to retreat to for comfort and reassurance. And it's also a secure base, a platform from which we can go out and explore the world, take risks, grow.
Okay, let's go back to those two groups we mentioned earlier. The ones who have difficulty managing emotions, the anxious types who tend to amplify, and the avoidant types who minimize. What happens when they form a couple?
Well, that's often where things get complex. Psychologist Susan Johnson did a lot of groundbreaking work on this. She noticed how these different styles often trigger each other.
Trigger each other? How?
They can create what she called an unhappy dance, a kind of repetitive cycle of unhelpful interactions. She described the more anxious partner often becoming a kind of pursuer.
Constantly seeking closeness, reassurance.
Exactly. While the more avoidant partner often becomes a withdrawer, tending to shut down or distance themselves to feel safe.
That classic push-pull dynamic.
Right. And often, this dynamic isn't really about a lack of love. It's more about one person desperately trying to feel closer and the other desperately trying to feel less overwhelmed or controlled.
And underneath all that conflict, there are usually vulnerable feelings on both sides. Fear, maybe?
Absolutely. Beneath the harsh words or the stony silence, there are often deep emotional needs and fears. Fear of not being loved, fear of rejection, fear of inadequacy.
So understanding this map, as Johnson calls it, can help couples see what's really going on.
Yes, tremendously. It helps them make sense of their partner's behavior, to see it not just as malicious or uncaring, but as a different, maybe less effective strategy for dealing with insecurity.
Well, when they stop blaming each other.
When that cycle of blame gets interrupted, real learning can happen, because that renewed sense of safety allows them to explore their own needs and their partner's needs more openly, more vulnerably.
And this isn't just useful for couples, is it? I mean, understanding your own patterns could be helpful if you're single, too.
Oh, definitely. Understanding your own attachment patterns is invaluable preparation for any future intimate relationship, and for parents, too.
So for parents?
Well, this awareness can deepen the connection with their kids, no matter the age. And it makes it easier to repair things after inevitable disagreements or difficult moments.
Okay, but understanding a pattern is one thing. Changing it. That's the real challenge, isn't it? What's the final key point here?
The final crucial piece is learning to slow down when we hit those emotional roadblocks, those difficult moments.
The triggers.
Exactly. Often, the biggest struggles and triggers in our lives come from losses or unmet needs related to attachment, things like grief, betrayal, rejection. But sometimes, the loudest trigger can actually be our own inner critic.
That harsh voice inside. So what can we do in those moments, especially if our main attachment person isn't available, or maybe they're the source of the trigger?
That's where self-awareness or mindfulness becomes a really powerful tool. When we get triggered, our body has an immediate physiological reaction, right?
Yeah. Heart races, breathing gets shallow.
Adrenaline kicks in. If we can learn to consciously slow down those physical reactions, maybe by focusing on our breath, we create a little window,
A window.
a space, a pause between the trigger and our usual reaction. In that space, we can observe our feelings with a bit more curiosity, maybe some self-compassion, instead of just reacting judgmentally.
And that stops the automatic fight or flight reaction.
It gives us a chance to interrupt it, yes. Before we automatically lash out or shut down, it gives us choice.
Okay, so let's recap. What are the 3 main takeaways we should really hold on to from this deep dive?
Okay, 3 key things. First, remember that behavior makes sense in its context. Try to understand the why behind actions, yours and others.
Right, context is key. Second.
Second, safety enables learning. Feeling secure is fundamental for growth, for exploration, for connection.
Safety enables learning. Got it. And the third.
And third, slowing down can actually create safety, especially in those tough emotional moments. It helps us manage difficult feelings and build healthier relationships.
And how can we actually do that slowing down in the heat of the moment?
One really simple, practical thing is to focus on a slow, long exhale. Seriously, just lengthening your out-breath.
Why the exhale?
It directly helps calm the nervous system, lowers the heart rate. It can soften our immediate reactions, make space for curiosity about what we're really feeling underneath.
And that leads to more openness, vulnerability.
Hopefully, yes. Which ultimately nourishes our intimate connections. Because, as we've been exploring, attachment theory really is, in many ways, the science of love.
So next time you find yourself in an emotionally charged situation in a relationship, maybe pause and think back to what we've talked about today.
Yeah, ask yourself, what's the context here? Do I feel safe? Can I just try to slow down my reaction, even just for a breath?
This whole exploration really gives us a new lens, doesn't it? Not just for romantic partners, but for friends, family, even our relationship with ourselves.
Absolutely. We hope these insights have given you some food for thought, maybe sparked a few aha moments.
We definitely invite you to keep exploring this. What struck you most about the theory? Is there anything you'd like to understand better?
Feel free to share your thoughts or questions. The science of love, as it turns out, is a journey we're all on,